Oh, sorry, fellas.
How's it going?
Good, how about you? How do you feel about the rivalry against Northwestern, the team up north?
I think no matter where you are, no matter what level of football, there's one team that you need to beat. And it becomes fairly obvious, soon. That's our football team. It's kind of unanimous in their opinion. We realize there's two teams in our state. And both claiming that we're Chicago's team. We have a lot of alumni here in Chicago. Quite a few fans here. But Pat Fitzgerald's done a great job with the program. But that's the team that we need to beat. Simply that. So our players acknowledge that. As we start our climb, we need to be able to do a better job against it. And we will.
Is the West generally overlooked because you got Wisconsin, you got Iowa, and people only seem to want to talk about the East?
Well, there's a new guy coming in. I haven't looked that deep into it. Look at the schedule. I know there's a lot of good football teams in the Big Ten period. Our side, again, there are good football teams on both sides. And we'll deal with them all in our own time. Murray State spurs up. A lot of our concentration is on them.
Coach Westland, is being evaluated as a potential NFL talent. Are there any NFL QBs that you might be able to compare him to, or that you see similarities in?
Again, I hadn't looked at it that deep either. My time in Chicago, we had Cal Art. Cal made great decisions. Threw the ball to the right person. Good leader. Teammates really liked him, believed in him. Our players feel the same way about Wes. Wes is a good athlete, you watch our workout, he leads a lot of the sprints. And if you talk with him, you really just kind of buy into who he is. He's been through a lot. As a quarterback, you go in a game, you have a plan, but teams start blitzing, you have to be able to adjust. Think about playing for 4 head coaches, So he can adjust. We like him being in charge.
You indicated today that fullback is going to be kind of a priority this season. Who's kind of in the mix right now?
We've, a lot of times when you talk, before you actually start meeting with your team, they don't know a lot of these things, but we have moved a couple. We have normally you kind of look at where the fullback position comes from. A lot of times it comes from guys that play linebacker, maybe tight end. We have a couple of guys that are going over right now. We're going to move a few guys from another position. We'll have a couple guys that will be at that position in the fall.
How important is that position for you all?
I think it's very important. If you talk about a running game, it's one thing to spread it out and run the football that way, but there comes a time where you talk Big Ten football, fullback and a tailback. We have a good tailback. We need somebody in front of him. There will be times when we'll have that, so we'll have a couple.
What about Keyshawn's game? Do you think having a fullback will complement him?
I think you talk to any tailback, they're pretty excited about having someone in front of them to shield things as they come through. It's Keyshawn Vaughn in general. As I said, I think he can do it all. I think he can make you miss an open field. He can run with power inside of the tackles. He can catch the football. And good vision, those things you're looking for in a good running back, I feel like he has.
What do you expect from Keyshawn Vaughn? He's a guy who's coming in and still only a sophomore. What do you expect from him?
He's our bell cow. So in order for us to have success with the running game, Keyshawn Vaughn has to have a good year. He realizes that. And what I've seen, he has a chance to do that. There's a commitment. We have 3 senior offensive linemen coming back. And I think most of you know me. I believe in the running game. We believe in the running game. And Keyshawn will believe in it. Well, that was a long time ago, but I saw our priest, Father Mike, today, and it came back to me fairly quick. But, I remember Paul Chris being on that team. And a lot of good memories, There are a lot of great universities in the Big Ten. our family enjoyed our time there. This was a short time there. It was really cold at the time, and we didn't play as good at football as they're playing right now. But again, good program. Another team that we're trying to catch up with them, catch-up game with them. And Paul does a great job with this program.
Coach, how would you define success in year one?
Don't put a whole lot on that. What we would like to do, I'm talking about success right away. We want to play to the best of our ability each week, starting with Murray State. I know it's coach talk, but at the end, those things will take care of themselves. I feel like we have good players in every position. Our depth isn't what it would be eventually, but we have good football players. Those three guys that are representing our team, along with other players that have been working hard all year. So to me, we'll see. We're a 5-win team last year. We understand that, and we know we're going to be a better football team, so we'll see.
Coach, when you introduced your staff, you and Hardy talked a lot about having an offensive mindset on defense, taking the football away. In your short time with your new defense, how are they taking to that mentality?
They have accepted it. In order to play for us, you have to. You have to buy into that. They determine the winner based on who has the most points. We don't come in with a defensive mentality of just stopping. It's about getting the ball back. So that's what we're going to preach. Our practices, you should see that. It's constant input with that to our players always. And I think guys know what it can do. So again, that'll be a big emphasis on it. We'll be teaching it each day and talking about it, and hopefully in time we'll be able to get it. In order for us to have success as a football team, it's pretty simple. You got to win the turnover ratio. But as far as defense is concerned, it's about taking the ball away. What's the first goal on defense? Anyone? What's the first goal on defense? Anyone?
Take the ball away, score? I don't know.
That's pretty good. It's a score. It's not to stop them and all those defensive.
You want to hire me?
Not necessarily.
Okay.
All right.
Then let me know.
But I like it. Good answer there. But it is about scoring, and that's how we're going to teach it. When you come in new and you know about the best players, and I knew about Wayne Snoop coming in. Now, okay, what type of guy is he? I mean, is he just a good football player, or is he a good leader also, good teammate? And what I saw initially from him, of course, came in and introduced himself. Coach, what I need to do to be the best player I can possibly be. And of course, first, hey, work harder. We gave him a few things he needed to do. Let's go to the practice field and see how you work. So no one works harder than him. He's coachable. No one works harder than him, and he has a lot of God-given ability. It's a pretty hard combination to beat. He is a player that's going to play a long time in the league. He realizes that. But if he'll just have the type of year he's capable of having, it's going to help us win a lot of football. And we think he'll do that. I'm talking about being the first guy in the drill, just playing hard, wanting to get every rep. Our disagreements have been with, hey, Dwayne, take a few reps away from you today. Wants to be out there every snap. Again, hasn't missed anything. Worked very hard this all season. I think some players deserve to have good years. He deserves to have an excellent senior year.
Skill-wise, when you say he can play a long time in the league, what do you see his skill set?
I think it's hard to find a pass rusher, especially outside pass rusher. Whether it be with speed off the edge, which he can do, or a power. He is a good, you need one great signature move and then a counter off of that. He has both of those. With a non-stop motor, that's a pretty good combination.
Lovie, you mentioned Jake sometimes is a guy you can count on, which he hasn't played a lot. Does he just kind of fit what you want?
Yeah, and again, you're right, some have played a lot, some haven't. You just kind of start coaching the guys up right away. And what I saw from him, good size, fourth corner, over 6 feet, good speed. He's a tough backward tackle, and you see that on video, and we saw that in the spring. Been very coachable. Very coachable. So somebody. Sometimes, change is good. Bring out the best in someone, and we hope that's the case with Jay.
What else do you see in that secondary? It seems like there's a lot of guys, but anybody else?
And that's why we can't wait to get to training camp. Again, we lost a lot of starters last year, but with that comes a great opportunity defensively for us. Last time we talked, Hardy Nickerson Jr. wasn't a good team. To be able to add a player like that this late in the game, and for them, you have to be excited too. Hardy Nickerson Jr. is a graduate from Cal, good academic institution, and then have an opportunity to play ball for your dad, your senior year. That's pretty special too. So we're excited about some of those same qualities we talked about with West. We're going to get those from Hardy Nickerson Jr. And I can talk about him because I've been around him all my life. I've seen him literally grow up from an infant home. I know what he's going to bring to the table.
What kind of immediate impact is Hardy Nickerson Jr. going to have this season?
Well, as much as a Mike linebacker can have in a system, Brian Urlacher was able to have quite a bit of impact in our defense. So I think it's a linebacker-friendly scheme. So we're expecting some big plays from him. He'll be the center of attention and be in position to, of course, whether it be making tackles, taking the ball away, whatever. We feel like he'll be able to do some of that. Smart player.
Coach, you inherited a pretty experienced roster. Smoot had mentioned that they do a lot of off-the-field activities together. What sort of chemistry did you notice when you came in around these guys?
Again, this is I'm coming in new, but I just know that they get along. That's the first thing you look for. I mean, I'm not saying that you want your entire football team to feel like your best friends, but to be able to get along. And you see that with just in the halls, in the players' lounge, on the field, guys enjoy playing together, doing things together off of the field. I saw that early on, and you can just kind of tell a little bit. When you have a guy like Dwayne Smoot that has an opportunity to come out as of course, junior year and decides to come back too, that's saying a lot about, what we have in that locker room.
You said this morning that you don't see a lot of difference between coaching at the pro level versus the college level, but what's the biggest difference you can make on a college player's life versus the impact you can make on a pro player's life?
I think college players listen. Naturally you would think that a college player is willing to be coached a little bit more than a player in the NFL. Once you're drafted and someone has told you, hey, you're the best, you're the elite, you have a lot of answers then. As a college player, you haven't made that move, so you still want to know. You're open to someone helping you a little bit more. That's what I've seen. But we're teaching some of the same things, and I'm talking about, as coaches, offense, blocking is blocking. Luke Buckus was coaching the Jacksonville Jaguars, and now he's coaching our University of Illinois offensive line. He hasn't changed his basic philosophy, so we are coaching. Hardy Nickerson coaching the same way he was coaching with the Bucs last year. So that part is about the same.
Lovie, on a personal level, you spent many years here in Chicago, successful players. What's it like to be back here in Chicago this weekend?
We, of course, feel like we're coming home. I know I've said many times, my wife is from Chicago. We have 2 sons that live here. And when you're at a place in the coach profession, and I see Kirk Ferentz over there. Kirk's been 18 years at one place. That doesn't happen most times. So, NFL team to be there 9 years is quite a bit. And when you're in a great city like Chicago for 9 years, you love everything about it, and that's how we feel. We kept a place here. We kept a home here at the house. So that transition has gone further.
Lovie, when you step the NFL back in the college ranks, do you have to sort of step back? Like you talk about the teaching fundamentals and stuff is still key to you. Can you step back a little bit too from a complexity standpoint? I mean, what have you found yourself having to do in that regard? Because you might have an 18-year-old and a 23-year-old coaching.
Wow, Tim, maybe that's how we run. But I feel like even in the NFL, we were running a college-type program anyway, where we put a big emphasis on fundamentals there. Defensively, we don't have a complex system. I don't think you play good defense based on trying to you know, I'm smarter than the guy across every play, and I have to call the perfect defense every time. We relied on athletic ability, putting guys in position to make plays. So don't feel like we've had to compromise what we did at that next level for what we're going to do right now. That didn't change an awful lot. And the good coaches I've been around, as I left Ohio State and went to the Tampa Bay Buccaneers way back in the day, that's what I got from Tony Dungy. He said, Lovie, it's not a big difference between college and NFL. We're going to start our practices early on. We're going to teach tackling, teach stance, alignments, and all those things just like you did. So I don't see it being a big adjustment at all.
You know, Ricky, you were at Ohio State with a guy named Orlando Pace was there. What do you
Absolutely.
remember about him? Why is he in the Hall of Fame? What you remember about Orlando Pace?
First off, I think I'm the only coach that Orlando is. I coached Orlando at Ohio State, St. Louis Rams, and of course the Chicago Bears.
Yeah.
And what I saw, I think he was a true freshman and saw then. He was better than everyone then. You know, he was a big man that could move like a defense. He was a guy playing offensive line that had defensive line character, is what we saw. And there's so many great things that he did. I can recall when we were in St. Louis Rams, Grant Wistrom was a great player, came from University of Nebraska. They went against each other every day. Orlando lost very few one-on-one battles throughout. Again, the standard of what you should have as an offensive line.
Do you regret that his last year was with you guys? He had that muscle problem. You regret people maybe remember that, don't remember that?
You can't, but unfortunately, that's how a lot of the careers end. You know, they don't. You have to go past that. You know, yeah, it's great that we had a chance to coach him, but I remember more of those, the early days at Ohio State and his career that he had with the St. Louis Rams. That's why he's a Hall of Famer, and rightfully so.
Coach Charles Tillman.
Big Sandy.
We made it to Dallas, and it's one. You know, there's a lot of positives and negatives about camp, but for me, as head coach, we can't go out and spring recruit. So for me, I was able to go out for one of the satellite camps. My old high school coach, I was able to stop by, so it's all good.
Coach Charles Tillman just retired. Have you spoken to him since, and what do you think of that?
Of course, Charles is a lifetime friend. You kind of start with that. Our relationship goes a little bit deeper than just coach-player. But, you know, when you leave the game, you want to leave your mark. And you talk Charles Tillman, everybody, I know most players, hey, Charles, man, nobody could take the ball away the way Charles Tillman did. You learn so much from your good football players. I learned so much from Charles Tillman. I can remember training camp. I think he went like 21 straight days where he got a takeaway. That's hard to do. Coachable, great family man off of the field. Everything you want him to be on the field. Just good for our game. The game will miss Charles Tillman quite a bit.
Look, when they moved the kickoff up, the NFL was going to do away with that play. Where do you see the evolution going now? Because they're talking about possibly taking the kickoff out of college football.
That's a shame a little bit. You know, football, the kickoff return has been a base part of that, just like the punt return has been too. And I'm a little biased because going back to my experience with Devin Hester, that was an exciting part of the game. Fans like seeing Devin Hester run the ball back. So to take that, an opportunity to see a great play like that. So I have mixed emotions a little bit. I understand the injury part of it, but you know, injuries happen in football. Seem like we're heading in that direction, so we'll adjust.
Coach, what do you see as the pros and cons with the new schedule format and switching to conference games this fall?
Well, I think to get a true champion, you want to play as many conference games as possible. So it makes sense. Again, coming in new, there are some priority and some things down there a little bit. That's kind of down there a little bit, but I can see why, you know, we would be going that direction. But I still think it's good though to play some non-conference games too. I know it's a tough league, but you want to compare with what they're doing in other conferences also, and not just at the end of the year. I believe in the playoff system. You know, 4 guys is good. 8 to me is even better. To get a true champion, so all these things seem like they're leading a little bit more towards that.
What do you want to see out of the kick return game this year? Obviously, Evangeline Bentley graduated. Who else is kind of...
Well, right now, you know, there are a lot of reasons to get to training camp to see exactly what we have. Our specialists, our kicking game, who our returner will be. We need to see a lot more from some of our players with that. But again, there will be an emphasis on it. We have a special teams coordinator involved, Lady Shesky. We're going to put time into our special teams, and we need to be able to win games with that.
In that same vein, is there anything guys can do between spring and fall workouts to move up or down on the depth chart?
Well, every little bit helps, and for us, not knowing anything about them, we have a visual right now of who they are. But there wasn't a whole lot of contact, and it's not like we'll have scrimmages in training camp from now on. But in a specialist, there are some things that you can do. You go out every day, besides just actually tackling everything. We have put guys to put in football positions, and we know a lot more about them.
How much has practice changed in terms of contact since you first started and now post CTE discussion?
There's a lot more contact back then, I would say. Now you kind of realize that you can't have as much, and you have some marquee players that you just can't put them at risk. As people talk about the kickoff a little bit, it's a risk factor of injury, and you have to wait out a little bit. I just don't think you have to go out and scrimmage every day. I think you can get in position and not have to throw your running backs down on the ground. I don't think you have to, in practice, tackle a quarterback to know how to do it. That's what drills are for. I'm a boxing fan. I mean, they're not going in and going 15 rounds every day. Just, you know, you spar an awful lot. And that's what you have to do a little bit in our game.
In the pros, a lot of times the quarterback or marquee player are kind of that face of the franchise. For you, for Illinois, you've kind of become that face in that brand. Do you like that? Have you accepted that?
Well, I'm new, and that's when you're new, they kind of put you out there a little bit more, but I can't say that I'm the face. The face of our ball club would be, those 3 guys that came up here. When you talk about having a first-round draft pick, he will be the face. Your quarterback, every program, especially a guy like Wes Lunt, he will be. And everybody wants to know about the running back, so we have some emerging guys that will take over that role.
But have you liked taking more of that initiative, like you said the earlier, kind of rebranding and going out with Josh?
I love spreading our brand, talking Illinois football. I've thoroughly enjoyed that. And whatever role I need to play to get the message out to our fans, come down to Memorial Stadium, be involved, I'll do it.
And what do you want that brand to be?
You don't put a brand, I think, in just a couple words, but there's a certain style of ball we would like to play. When people come down to Memorial Stadium, when they leave, to talk about how hard we play. Disciplined football team that finds a way to win. I want people to talk about how hard it is to play at Memorial Stadium. You have to have a home field advantage and be good at home. That's one of our goals we'll have, is to win all of our home games. In order to get that going, you have to win that first.
You have North Carolina on the schedule, a conference championship caliber team. When it comes to that brand, how important is scheduling those type of teams to put Illinois back into the limelight like that?
I think it's important. That's why, different non-conference opponents that have a name that you can associate with college football. And of course, us, you'd rather play them at home. So that's a big game for us. And of course, Murray State is big starting off the season. And then after that non-conference schedule-wise, North Carolina, a nationally televised game. That'll be the first time people will get a chance to see what we are as a football team. We'll be ready.
Following that, you said earlier about Camp Rantoul, why go away because the facilities are great. You'd rather win your home games. And I'm wondering,
one more time, you say, what about Rantoul?
This morning you talked about Camp Rantoul and how it didn't make sense to leave the great facilities.
Yeah.
And now you're talking about home games, winning all the home games you can. I'm wondering about the Western Michigan game, because it was originally scheduled to be played at Western Michigan. And so I know that there was some kind of discrepancy between people who thought, let's get prepared for road games by playing a road game against a MAC team. Do you have any thoughts about whether it's advantageous to play early on the road as opposed to playing all your home games?
You're going too deep into it is what I think.
Okay.
All right. We have a schedule. Western Michigan is on it. I didn't know it was in play on whether it was away or at home. Western Michigan is a good ball club. For us coming in new, to start off a season, your first season, with 4 out of your first 5 games at home, that's what we would like.
That's good.
We'll learn how to win games on the road, but we want to play. It's about, establishing what you are at home. So I love the schedule the way it is. We'll be ready for Western Michigan also.
What went into the decision to have training camp be open for 2.5?
For me, not a whole lot. I mean, that's what we're practicing right now. We have a routine down where our players eat, where we watch video, where we're going to stay, practice fields that we're comfortable. We have our routine down. Why would you change it? The travel part of going to another place. Our guys had the little things like laundry, had to drive back to our facility to do laundry every day. There's just so many things. We like our home, and we want to be there whether it's playing a game or what. We want to be there at our home as much as possible. The best way for us to become a better football team is to be in a home environment.
Are you okay with 16 practices being open?
It's not like we're not going to be game planning an awful lot. So if you think you're coming there to see what we're going to do on 3rd and 1 the first game, you won't get that. But we're new. We want our fans to get a chance to see exactly what we're going to do. Our spring practices were open also. Hopefully we get to a point where we need to start worrying about closing practices. Right now we're not there.
And what will be the biggest points of emphasis then for those few weeks of training camp?
There's everything. We're starting off new, so just think about it from the beginning, and that's what we have to have. Whether it's special teams, just guys moving into their role, what's expected of them each play, and just their role on the football team, changing the culture. There's just so many things, but it's just a process that you go through for training camp. A lot of these things, from game situation, how we handle everything, is what we'll be going over at this next cycle.
You keep harping on.
DeJuan Smith and the coach a lot of good defensive players. How does he kind of stack up with those other ones from a talent standpoint? What are the NFL scouts going to see in him?
Well, I think, how he stacks up. When we start talking about him being a high draft pick, you're going to stack up pretty good. Again, he knows how to rush the passer from the outside. Outside pass rushers get paid in NFL. Work ethic, non-stop motor, smart. I think he's going to match up. And as we start comparing him with other players, they're going to like what they're going to see.
What are some things that you were able to teach him in the spring, stuff maybe he wasn't doing before last year?
As a coach, it's hard to say just one thing. We start coaching him up. We coach him how to play the run, how to play the pass, how to do a lot of different things. We do that on a daily basis. Kind of simple.
You keep talking about the fact that we're new, so everything from the beginning is going to work on everything. What's a realistic, successful season for this team?
You guys want to put numbers on it. So we're trying to have successful days and put good days on top of them. Simple as that. Put good games on top of each other. But everything now is about starting training camp, having a successful camp, beating Murray State. We'll see from there how it goes. Our expectation high for us to play good football each week.
You talked about Westlaw having gone through so much as a quarterback, as a player, as a young man. You've gone through a lot of coaches. Was it harder to get him to buy into what you were selling at this point?
No, that's what's really great about him. A lot of times, and I think it benefits a guy too, to have to adjust and go over and learn new systems on how you do things. He never knows where he's going to go in the NFL. But no, it hasn't been hard. We talk about good leader. That's what a good leader does. This is what is presented to you. Make the most of it, and that's what he's done. No, not make the most of it, embrace it. And he's embraced everything we've done. His relationship with the offensive coordinator, our quarterback coach, Garrett McGee. It's been fun watching that, them develop that. But you have to be willing he's willing, and what you want from all football players. And he knows that we can help him do some things that we will.
You said recruits are listening and you're asking them to give you guys a chance. What's really been that recruiting pitch for you? Really?
It's that. You know, again, it's recruiting-wise, you just don't, hey, it's no magic pill. It's how you do things. They're looking. They're asking good questions, talking to people, watching what's going on, doing their research. That's how people become interested in what you're doing. And ultimately it will come to what you're doing on the football field. And then what we're doing off of the field, you know, word of mouth gets around a little bit, you know, from everyone. So that's what's happening right now with our recruit.
And then what do you want a recruit to keep with them once you leave the room in terms of how they get that lasting impression of Illini?
Just not one impression of us. What I want them to do is they come here to just kind of believe in our message a little bit. And as you're recruiting, you know, there are some things you just know. It feels right. You know, I asked my wife to get married. I mean, it just kind of felt right. You knew it. You just can't say it was just because of this. All right? There's a lot of things that come into play. It's the entire package. That's what we're offering. And just keep in mind, it's a Big Ten. You know, student athletes. The degree from the University of Illinois means quite a bit. Ask all of the alumni that we have around Chicago throughout. So it's that, along with the brand of football. And even though we haven't coached a game, we have a history on what we do on the football field, and I think they're buying into that.
Coach, you talked about Keyshawn Vaughn's versatility before. Could you expand on that a little bit, and kind of how he fits in Coach McGee's offense?
You know, you need a good running back that can be a three-down running back. You expect all running backs to be able to carry the football, make you miss in open field, break tackles, good vision. He has all those. And I'm anxious to see how he does, you know, block protection, you know, just how he competes on a daily basis. Catching the ball out of the backfield, you know. You want him to be able to do everything. And from what I've seen, he has the ability to be able to do everything and be a three-down back.
How much of a workload do you think he can handle? A little bit thin at that position. Are you talking like 25, 30 carries a game?
We're not putting a number on it right now. You know, it'll vary from game to game, but just number-wise on our rushing attack, we'll play more than just Keyshawn. You know, in order to be a running football team, you have to have multiple carries. You know, I'm talking about over 20 carries, maybe over 30. We haven't put a number on it yet.
Lovie, Coach Mikey do to kind of Dre Brown progressing?
They're making progress, and that's tough when you have the same injury to the same knee, same way, non-contact injury. I'm talking about Mikey first. He's a good football player. In time, he's going to help us win a lot of games, but that's a part of athletics too, football, and coming back from injuries. But Mike's on the road to recovery, and eventually we'll see him on the field.
Coach, what's it been like to have some extra time with Keyshawn and Smoot and Wes since you are so new? And what have you learned about those three guys in these couple of days? I know you guys have been busy, but have you gotten to know them a little bit better, and what's that been like?
Well, first off, yes, I have gotten a chance to know them better. And it isn't a must that you like everybody. They like me, I like them, but I think it helps. They're likable guys. And you know when somebody is buying into the message and they believe in how we're going to do things, and that message that you've started, they're relaying it, and you see them doing it each day. That's what I've seen from those guys. So as a coach, you have to love that. It's kind of simple as that. I love them representing our school up here, and can't wait for them to get back. We need their influence on the rest of our team daily, and every day up here is a day away from our team, so I know they're anxious to get back down there.
Coach, what do you expect from the offensive line, especially the two young guards, Meganson and Algrady?
Well, Meganson and Nick Algrady, I mean, both of those players, good size, haven't played, but they're highly tutored players coming out. You know, Nick being the heavyweight wrestling champ or something like that in the state. Gabe being a heavily recruited guy. We see the potential. And before you play, that's what you need to see, the potential for them to be able to do the job. A lot is on them. You know, that's one of the, for us, we have a three technique. We play with a guy on the guard. a guy on the center. So you have to be strong inside in order to get the running game going. They'll need to be able to do it, and we think they will.
You mentioned Garrett. He had a really good job when you told him away. What drew him to you, and what was kind of your side to him? Was it basically running on the offense? It's kind of your side of football.
Yeah, but I think it's like we're talking about in recruiting. There are a lot of good programs, but you kind of get a feel, and you kind of buy into the message a little bit, and just a belief on the direction you're heading. And when you know people, Garrett had a good job. He's had good jobs throughout his career because he's a good football coach. But you go to that next level. I think it helps when you have an intimate relationship with somebody too. We've known each other for a long time. It's family. And as an offensive coordinator, I'm a head coach based on what I've done on the defensive side of the ball. He knows that. I'm not gonna every third down, Garrett, do this. There's a basic philosophy that we'll have, and we'll go over what we're going to do. Garrett is calling the offensive play. It's a great opportunity for him. Great opportunity, again, when you're with an offensive head coach to go away from that, too. There's a lot of advantages to him becoming an offensive coordinator, and I know our guys love playing with him.
Coach, with you being that defensive-minded coach, obviously, I think a lot of people are wondering, is this going to be a Hardy Nickerson defense or a Lovie Smith defense?
As I said with Garrett McGee, I believe in hiring good coaches and letting them make the calls. So I'll give input. I'll give input in all three phases, but Hardy Nickerson will be making the calls. Again, Hardy and I go back a long ways. Me as a coordinator, me as a linebacker coach, and a lot of times, the call didn't come in, and Hardy knew exactly. We've been on the same page, thinking-wise, for a lot of years. So that's been an easy transition, really, for Hardy to move into this role. We have the same basic philosophy in defensive football.
What's your earliest memories of Hardy Nickerson Jr.?
Hardy Nickerson Jr., well, he's been born, and just being around football all his life. And then we took a little break, and then he came back, and all of a sudden he's a big kid, and he's getting recruited, and just watching him take the steps along the way. Right now, where you see him, you see Hardy, you can't tell the difference. They're both the same size, similar personality, which is a good thing. Again, it's just good to see guys grow up like that and put themselves in a position. This senior year is special. One more time, one more chance to finish it up the right way, a certain way. And when you want somebody to have such a good year and you can now have a really big impact on it, it's pretty special.
When did his dad kind of talk to you about his son transferring?
Well, kind of late in the game a little bit. We knew that he could graduate, and really Hardy Jr. kind of initiated it a little bit because you as a player you want to be around guys that you really trust. And who can you trust more than your dad? And again, he and I have a history, so. And he believes in our defense, our form of defense. That's what he's been raised up in too. He saw his dad have a lot of success playing the same position he's going to play. So he believed in that. Guys nowadays do their research quite a bit, and they make good decisions.
Coach, takeaways have always been a big part of your defense. How do you kind of instill that in practice? And was there kind of a big change for you with this Illinois team coming from the NFL as far as getting that mentality of taking the ball away?
I don't think it's an NFL thing. I think it's just a kind of team thing on what you believe. There's no better indicator on who's going to win the football game than the turnover ratio. And a base part of that is the defense taking the ball away. It's as simple as that. You start off with that, it makes sense. Guys want you to tell them something that makes sense. You have educated players. Our athletes at the University of Illinois, we have smart players that get it. And just players in general, they understand that. And once you establish that's what you want to be, you have to find a way to get that done. And emphasis placed on it, how you practice it on a daily basis, and that's what we do.
You're focused on first practice and the next practice, but you're coaching some big games. And I'm wondering, Josh said, I can't wait for that first game where I'm the AD, my former alma mater. Do you think of the first game of being that? Do you think of that and envision what that's going to feel like?
Absolutely. And I've had a lot of first games, for new seasons, and every one of them was special. But, again, we've been all over. My wife and I just moved. In our 20th place we've called home. We've done an awful lot. But yeah, this is special. I feel like I'm in the fourth quarter of my career, too. And football has brought us so much, me so much. I love the game so much. There's nothing like the opening weekend of a football season. And it's from afar, there's nothing like game day on a college campus. So yes, I have an idea of the feelings I'm going to have for that. And it's not that far off.
You said you're in the fourth quarter of your coaching career, so before the clock runs out, what's left to accomplish?
Well, when I say the fourth quarter, just the start of the fourth quarter.
Just the start.
Okay. Have an awful lot.
It's really the only interesting quarter anyway.
How it's gonna end, we're nowhere on that. But I just know that really, if you look at the fourth quarter of every game, that's when ball really starts. That's when you can really you have to make that, biggest impression and all of that. But I just know how football has done so much for me, and we want to give back, and we want to help develop our men. You talk about the Charles Tillman of the world. I mean, we coach those guys the same way we're coaching our players right now, and just want football to be able to have an impact on their life. It's a lot more it's bigger than just football per se. What you get from being a football player on a team, the responsibility of, you're going to have, our players are going to go out and have families, and your children are going to rely on you to do a certain job. And that's what your teammates rely on you to do, that same thing. So that's the part that's kind of a drug that you can't get away from, and just pumped up that we're part of.
Can you talk a little bit about Hardy's coaching style, his leadership techniques, how he relates to his players, and just sort of what's he like on the practice field?
Hardy Nickerson was a middle linebacker for double-digit years in NFL. So you have an idea of what his personality is like to be able to do that. Intense. He was a coach on the field as he played. Bright. Disciplined. Just not going to put up with mental mistakes, and just playing hard every down. That's what you're going to get. Coming to practice, you'll see him. He's a guy with a lot of energy. He loves what he does.
Coach, you say you're excited for your first game. There seems to be an excitement around this program that hasn't been there in a long time. What have you felt talking to fans and being out, as far as what they're telling you they feel with you here now?
Well, that excitement. They love the university. That's what. And they're proud of the university. Proud to be an alumnus of our university. And they don't understand why we can't play better football. That's what I've gotten. And what can we do to help coach? And my message to them: show up, wear your colors, blue and orange. Come to Memorial Stadium. Be vocal about your love for the university. We're working on the product on the football field.
How often do you communicate with Josh Whitman, and how has that relationship grown in the last 5 months?
Quite a bit, to answer your questions. Relationship is growing, like any relationship. And keep in mind, Josh is new too, so he's got a lot of things on his plate besides just the football team. But it's been great, of course, working with him. That's why I took the job. I did my research on him, and every day has been exactly what I wanted it to be.
Keyshawn's one of, if not the only, underclassman who's represented here at Media Day. Why did you pick him to represent Illinois this week?
Well, I think you wanted wanted people to get a good look at who we are as a football team, and I just don't think because you're an older player, you really what we are as a team. I believe in young players playing. It's kind of natural that I work hard to be one of those guys. We have some other players we could have fought, but I think it's good for him to be in that role.
Coach, when you're in the NFL, I think you brought a certain identity to certain teams, especially with the Bears. They had that grinded out defensive identity. How does that identity sort of change when you transition to college, and do you hope to bring a similar identity?
Well, that was the identity that I had a little bit, but we wanted that, and to bring along our offensive part. I want to be kind of known for that a little bit too. But we're going to keep that same philosophy. And hopefully, if you talk about my career, it's been about he believes in you got to play great defense, special teams. You win games with special teams also, but you can't just disregard offensive football, because that's what ultimately wins games. And that's what we want to be known for. That's what we're putting our emphasis on. I'm not locked into, just a certain. We want to be multiple on the offensive side of the football. I'm not going to tell you we're going to be in two backs every time or one back, or well, we're not going to run some spread or whatever. We want to be multiple with our offensive attack and just kind of be known for all three phases.
I think, speaking to that, I think an issue with the offense maybe in the past few seasons has been their inability to stay on the field for long periods of time, which made the defense maybe a little gassed. Have you noticed that, and what types of things can you do to help?
First off, I don't buy that philosophy on defense gasping. Defense can 3 and out or take the ball away. They can get off of the field right away too, so it goes both ways. But maybe that's what's happened in the past. In order to keep drives going, we do need to do that. And I just don't think you can keep drives going just throwing the football every snap. Got to be able to get that running game going some kind of way. I'm told that we were last in the league as far as rushing the football last year. That has to change.
Since March 8th, how many days have you and Marianne spent in Champaign-Urbana?
You say since then?
Yeah.
God, I don't know. Well, for the most part, again, as a head coach, you can't go out and recruit. So now I've been over the state and different places, with alumni groups, but we've been there most of the time.
John Gross always talks about the support staff involved in official visits particularly. How well have you gotten to know all of the academic counselors, all of the people that aren't necessarily football coaches that are going to be involved in the process?
We're getting to know them. It's a process still with them also. And it's just not, of course, we deal intimately with the academic staff quite a bit, but I like the entire college experience. All athletes eat in the same area, so I've been able to interact with some of them a little bit more, but football building is by itself, so we don't have as much interaction as we will over time, but we're progressing in that also.
So current office filling out a little bit to start to get more people.
We're first, there's a renovation going on there, and I'm told, and I came, to the meetings here, but I'm told that we're getting closer. Not quite there yet, but we have a little bit of time.
You've added some new roles in the support staff in terms of analysts. What's the reasoning behind it?
I think, you're just trying to improve everything that we're doing. The more intelligent minds you can get together, the better off we should be. There is a lot that goes into recruiting, whether it's a graphic design person or guys that can just help us in that recruiting and that personnel department we need. And that's what everybody else is doing too. And an error that I think from there is that college, I just have to jump in here whenever I get a chance to talk on this. What I've seen too from the college game that I would like to see change is the number of coaches that can actually coach on the football field. I'm at a loss to figure out why it stopped at 14 when you have so many other people at every university that's getting paid that could be giving instruction to help our guys do a lot better.
You said earlier today that you really feel like you kind of get Chicago team.
I'm sorry, you say Chicago team? Well, I'm just kind of going on the numbers a little bit. We have more alumni here than any university probably in the country. So that in mind, to me, that says you're Chicago's team. Every function I've had in Chicago has gone a certain way. We're close, and we're the flagship university of the state. And Chicago is the largest city in our state. It seems like we have to claim Chicago too.
Lovie, I heard a story about your watch. Does your wristwatch come from your dad? Is there something along those lines?
Yeah, that is a story right there. The watch that I got. Yeah, watch that I got. Back at Texas High School All-Star game back in 1976. Yeah, father been your biggest support all your life. I gave it to him right away, and right up until he died, it was like it was new. So I wore it occasionally in special sporting events, but of course just a little reminder. He's of course long passed away. But definitely is there. It reminds me of every time I wear a watch, of course.
When do you think was the last time you wore it?
I was hoping you wouldn't ask me that. When you say special games and then you ask what game was that, there are a lot of special games. Let me throw that out there. I'll just say it's been a while since I've worn it. And again, when I wore it for playoff games, Super Bowl, I think, a few things like that.
Keep good time.
What's your sense of how much the conference has grown since your last go around? Not just number of teams, but like a spectacle like the Big Ten Media Days?
Well, I was going to say that, of course, the number of teams kind of adds quite a bit to that. But when you have a banquet like that, I don't know, 2,000 or so, that kind of tells you how big Big Ten football really is. There are a lot of personalities, coaching-wise, in our conference, you know, for good reason, the support, you know, that we get. There's a lot of interest. So, and I think that's just a football brand, you know, in general. That's a football brand. But, of course, to be in the marquee conference, which I think, of course, even more special.
You know, when Wes transferred, there was some talk about him having NFL potential, or coaching staff hyped him up that way. You've obviously been around a lot of NFL quarterbacks. Does he have NFL measurables or arm? Or?
Of course, you need to let me go through the season. But from what I've seen with Wes, yes. I can see why they said that back then. Were you at the banquet?
No.
Anybody at the banquet there today? You know, your quarterback has a raffle, and you have to throw the ball to the person that wins it. Well, the person that won it today was way back in the corner, and West threw a pretty good ball. Seriously, though, I have seen him throw the football. He can throw it. He has a temperament, too, to be an NFL quarterback. But those things will take care of himself. The best thing West can do to have an opportunity to play in the NFL is have a great senior season, and that's what he's concentrating on.
So measurable-wise, you definitely see it.
Well, that's another story. We didn't expect that. It's a long ways away. But I was just interested in the throw. It was a pretty good throw.
Wes hit her in their hands, right? Because there were a lot of drop balls last year.
There were a drop, and he can't do a whole lot about that. His job is to put it in a position where you can catch it. And he does throw a good ball, you know, that's catchable. So, again, there's a lot of excitement for me to see a lot of different things, but it gives you hope when you have that type of guy in that position. It really does.
You've been able to interact with students on campus already?
Absolutely, from my opening day there on the job, and they have been vocal in their support, their ideas since then. One area that we need to improve, student involvement, get them to the stadium.
That's what I mean.
More so than they've been, but they're like everybody else. They're going to give us another chance. We're going to put a better product on the field. If you're a part of the total student experience, to me, and you're at a major a university with a major college football team in general, is to go there on Saturday. So we're going to get that. They say they're showing up.
Is it important, the interaction part of you being able to interact with the students? Do you
Absolutely.
find that to be an important part of it all?
Absolutely. My role, I have to interact and want to interact with everyone, whether it's alumni, of course, the students. Again, we need them. I mean, there's a football team that plays, but to have that home crowd into it, and where the opponent can't hear their calls and things like that, they can affect the outcome of a game. And of course, the ones that can lead that will be our students.
It's been almost 5 months since you were introduced on that day in March. Now you've had time to reflect. What do you remember about that first day?
About the first day, one of the things I remember is going over to the Student Center, and the response, the greeting I got from the students. That gets you pumped up, and just the excitement of, throughout, of everybody associated with the university. But my first meeting with our football team, never forget that.
What are your thoughts on the Big Ten West going into your first year? How would you analyze it? It's like the target, or Iowa would be the target going in?
No, I just haven't looked that far into it. We're in the West. We have Murray State starting off. We're in the West. And there's a group of Big Ten teams that we have to play. We know who our rival is. That's how we've broken it down. our ultimate goal at the end of the year is to be playing, is to go to Indy, to play in the Big Ten, to have a chance to win the Big Ten championship. That's how we looked at it. Excellent coaches on both sides, East and West, and we'll deal with whoever's next on the schedule.
You mentioned the student section and the atmosphere. Now, I know you haven't coached in the stadium yet, but you obviously have seen the layout where the fans are at. What are your thoughts on that? Where they're right on top of that north end zone?
I like where they are. My goal is to get it where we fill in the north and we're moving over to that next section. That's where we'll put them once there's an overflow from there. And it doesn't really matter where the students are. You just need them in the stadium being involved. That energy that they bring, they know how to bring, that's what we need. My office is right out from there too, so I know where they are. Can't wait to see them in the stadium.
Mike White's teams had students actually on the field. They had to build extra bleachers just off the end zones. Would you be comfortable with more people on the field?
We like them where they are right now. We'll look at those things a little bit later on. First step is filling, that north side, and we'll start working from there.
I don't know if you were on campus to see the array of Lovie shirts that were being, sold at places.
Some Lovie shirts?
There were Lovie shirts, and there were
Lovie Whitman.
Lovie Whitman. I don't know, how's that make you?
You get a cut of that.
I haven't seen an awful lot of those, but whatever it takes to kind of get the message out a little bit, I'm in favor of it.
I've got to ask you a big Sandy Texas question.
Uh-oh. Let me get the mic. You and I are probably the only two that know anything about Big Sandy, but go right ahead. I'm sorry?
You ever heard of Leroy Chalk?
Leroy Chalk. Well, since my mother's maiden name is Chalk, I would say that I have Leroy Chalk. You're talking about Leroy Chalk, the center that played at the University of Nebraska. And as a cousin of mine, of course, I've heard of him. So, one of the, we had a lot of, a few great players that come out. Think about it. 34 of my graduating class. Leroy Chalk, starting center for the University of Nebraska.
Still the second leading rebounder.
Still the second and all that. 3,000-yard rushers, a first-round draft pick in David Overstreet. So that's where I came from that era.
Very good.
What would be this year's slogan, a mantra?
Don't get into that an awful lot. We're showing up each day, going to work. Those things, we'll work ourselves into those. That's kind of low on the totem pole a little bit for us right now.
So you're not a big believer in like the bumper sticker marketing catchphrase slogan stuff, or never really been into that?
It's great if they do it, but to me, there's a priority list. That's a little bit further down.
Listen, the media picked you guys to finish sixth in the West. Are you guys going to surprise us?
We're not in to surprise you, to be truthful. We're going to play the best of our ability each week. And, how would you know? You've never seen us coach. This team has never played together. It'd be hard to kind of put us in. Last time we won a championship, we won 5 games the year before. So, not putting any limits on what we can do. But when there's a coaching change, normally it's not followed by, 10-win season or anything like that. Most of the time that's the case, at least. So we'll see what happens.
Where do you think we'll see the first, green shoots, green sprouts of growth and development?
You said one more time?
What specific areas might we see the first?
I think, starting new, you need to see them in all areas. Every position has to perform at a certain level. There is not a grace period for us. That's why we have to make as much progress as possible initially, right away. Every practice matters. Hey, we'll get it later on. This is a transition year. No, we're just going to stimulate that growth as soon as possible.
Is Hardy Jr. going to be essentially the quarterback of your defense?
Mike Linebacker is the quarterback. Sometimes he'll have to make the call, from time to time. The quarterback has to know. In order to be in that role, just like for West to be in that role, you have to know the offense, you have to know the defense, just like the coach will. That's your challenge. And he will know that.
Do you see Smoot really excelling in your system? A lot of people are pretty high on him.
Yes, I think Wayne Smoot is an excellent football player. He's going to play for a long time. And I think this is a defensive end friendly system. Yes. We put an emphasis on being able to rush the passer with 4 guys.
How about Mr. President from Auburn?
He'll be another player, of course. Right now, he wasn't here for spring ball. Dwayne was here for spring ball. Jamil, the president, was not. Anxious to see him on the field with the team.